Okay, what are we doing today?
We are starting a testing cycle tomorrow on Wednesday. We're starting with back squat. Definitely a lift in which you could kind of bite off more than you could chew. Get maybe a shot of your 1 rep max, and then in turn you're working off a number that isn't super applicable to you. And then maybe your reps kind of look poor throughout the next 14 weeks. So we're kind of going to chat about how Eric approached testing his back squat. What he was looking for, a 1 RM, a 5 RM, a 10 RM, whatever he was looking for. And
Got it.
what he's thinking in between his sets, how much he's resting, is he doing mobility in between his sets to find a better position in the hole, stuff like that. So kind of some basic testing stuff.
Okay, so we're just gonna watch it and cycle through it and see how it goes.
So what is, just a couple things I guess as
Sure.
we're starting this off. Did you have a goal in mind? Were you gonna shoot for a 1 rep max, a 5 rep max, a 10 rep max? What were you going for?
I was going to go for a heavy single, which I distinguished from a 1 rep max, and that I wasn't necessarily trying to PR. I was just trying to sort of see where my strength was today, right? And so I have basically an idea in mind, probably a threshold of where I'd end up, but I haven't really hit back squat more than 3 or 4 times in the whole cycle probably. So I wasn't optimistic that a PR was going to be in my wheelhouse.
So you had a number you were thinking you were going to shoot for, or at least a range. How were you going to approach getting to that number?
Honestly, relatively quickly. These first couple of squats over the bar, I'm ice cold. I warm up my back squat pretty quickly. My squat mobility gets going to optimum, I would say. It doesn't take super long, so my plan was basically go 135, 225, see how 225 feels, and then measure it from there. If I could do 135, 225, 275, and then start testing from there, that was going to be what I wanted to go for. I didn't quite go according to plan, but you'll kind of see as it unfolds, we can kind of explain what's going on. So a couple of reps at 135, do some pauses, hang out in the base. And then I always like to finish off my, especially when I'm testing or going for something heavy, I like to finish every set with this idea of like getting the CNS going. So I think in the next rep or two here, I'm gonna go for one where I take a really big breath, pinch it down, and then go for what my motor pattern is gonna be like for a heavy single, right? Where I'm not pausing, I'm not shimmying around, I'm trying to make it like that one crisp, perfect rep. Even though it's light, even though it's total warm-up stuff, like I'm starting to get mentally prepared for that.
So with your warm-up reps, knowing that you're going to go pretty heavy, are your warm-up reps going to look any different? Are you going to squat higher as you get heavier? Are you going to cut the range of motion at all? Are you going to warm up exactly how you're going to end up hitting a heavy single? How does that work?
So identical. So actually, I took a look at the footage and I was kind of pleased with myself that my motor pattern up and down was almost identical throughout all of the reps for the whole sequence. So I was pretty pleased with that. And as it gets heavier, we can kind of dissect that a little bit and see how it goes. So in between, just kind of putting the finishing touches. I like to be able to, in flat feet, be able to settle fairly upright and be kind of on my haunches, so to speak. So I'm trying to just get to a spot where I can just settle in and be very relaxed. Like I don't want to be finding my end range of motion. I just want it to be there. So I skip right up to 225.
And as you do, I mean, this will make more sense, I guess, as you get to your heavier loads. But
Right.
How do you know when you are done? Like, are you looking for your heaviest squat should look like your squat with a bar? Are you going to allow things to break down a little bit? Is your speed going to suffer? What are you telling yourself? And when do you let yourself know that that was it? That was my heaviest single for the day. Anything else, I may put myself at risk for injury or something like that.
I essentially try and mimic the motor pattern identically. And so if that starts to break, my threshold's like 95%. 5%, maybe you lose your balance a little bit. Maybe you get off tempo just a bit. Like to me, that's an acceptable threshold, but you should really not be going below that because especially like I know better. Like I shouldn't be caving into form defects without that sort of like top 5 threshold in mind. So if that starts to break either in terms of speed or position, that's how I know I'm done. And that'll become, once we get to the heavier ones, that'll become fairly obvious what I'm trying to accomplish. So I think what I do is I did a couple of pauses and then I actually revisited 225 because I wanted to start thinking, getting away from pausing, getting away from being slow, and start getting into, all right, it's game time. I want to hit good, clean reps, and so getting myself mentally prepared to hit exactly crisp, perfect reps.
Do you know if there's anything in your squat that you're aware of that you don't really like and you're trying to maybe kind of clean up or make as good as possible as you build up in weight?
Yeah, I would say I just need to work on a little more ankle flexibility, I think, because at the bottom, I would like to be just a little more upright. My hips are, I mean, I guess it's a combo of hips and ankles, but I would like a little more mobility across my hips and ankles just to stay a little more upright, because what tends to happen, if I can make that disappear, is you can see I get a little bit extended. Stupid thing. I get a little bit extended, and then that pushes my hips up prematurely. So that tends to be my fault when things get heavy. But I'm doing a pretty good job replicating my motor pattern up and down. But that would be the thing I'd want to correct. So I think I'd jump up to 255, because 225 was feeling a little slow. Otherwise, I would have gone straight to 275.
So you've obviously lifted a lot in the past couple of years, and you've tested a whole bunch of times. Do you feel pressure or anything, like you need to hit a 1 rep max even if it's not going to be a good rep when you see that we're testing or anything like that? Do you have a level head about it? How do you approach that?
I haven't gotten a back squat PR in like 5 years, so I mean, if I put that pressure on myself, that'd be kind of ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, at some point, like, for me, it's so my best squat ever is 325 or 335 or something like that. So today I get to within about 90 to 95% of that total max. And so if I haven't even squat that much and I've managed to maintain 90% of my strength and positions, to me, that's a huge victory. And then also over the course of the last year in particular, I've been working a lot on position and just kind of like efficacy of movements. And so the way I kind of think about this is that in the very beginning, you kind of race up and you have sort of a shoddy foundation, and you get to the top of your building, and yeah, you got to the 60th floor of your massive tall building, but it's kind of on a shoddy foundation. So I ripped that building down, and the height of my building has not increased, but I feel like my foundation is much more stable. So someday, honestly, I feel like I want to back squat 400 pounds, but it's just going to take a while to kind of build up some of the efficacy, and I feel like my foundation is like really good now to actually pull that off. So 255 felt good. I had good speed, so I was doing pretty good there. And then I think I go up to I think I do another single at 255. And so what I'm doing here, and actually I'm very deliberate about this, and this is a common cue I give to people, is I go back so you can kind of see my whole shimmy, my whole routine, is I don't want to do any thinking on the bar, right? So I'm getting my shoulders perfectly placed. I'm getting my grip perfectly placed. I want to make sure that when I come out of the rack, the only thing left to do is step back and squat. And I'm not trying to balance the bar, and I'm not trying to shimmy my grip, and I'm not getting tired adjusting to things. I can just do what I need to do. So I spend a fair amount of time doing all my thinking off the bar so I can step back, get balanced, take a big breath, and squat. Like I don't want to be sitting around thinking about it too much. Of course, one of the huge bad habits of mine is I'll be like squatting or doing something, and I'll like start answering emails or start talking about stuff, and just when I did this lift, I was like, shit, I actually got a little bit cold. I waited too long. It was probably like 4 or 5 minutes between lifts, and if you're only doing sets of 1, I mean, that's not a ton of work to do in between. So Andrew and I are shooting the shit, and I'm just like getting cold. It's a bad habit of mine, not being in the zone. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. Okay, I finally get to my squat. So 285 went up decently. Yeah. So one of the things that I went back and looked at and I liked was that on the way down. Okay, cool. So on the way down, you can basically kind of see my general hip angle. And then on the way back up, I'm in about the same place. Yeah. So I'm pretty pleased. I wasn't 100% sure if that was going to be the case, but going back and looking at the film, I was pretty pleased that my motor pattern was roughly there. Obviously, it's not going to be identical. That would be the goal. But a typical thing is, you go down, and then when you come back up, those hips come way up, and you kind of good morning the weight up. So that tends to be kind of one of my fatal flaws when I'm really pushing it. So I was happy that wasn't occurring. So here I'm doing some decision making. I'm deciding, all right, what do I want to do next? I wanted to get 315 for the day. I settled for 305 because 285 felt like pretty taxing, and another 30-pound jump. I didn't feel like I had it in me. And there's no thinking, it's all routine. So that's why I have a very deliberate sort of setup so that I can make sure that everything goes up and down. So position broke a little bit there, but honestly, it broke where you would expect it to break, right? I kind of had a little hitch. Let's see if... But again, I was pretty pleased with my hip angle on the way down, okay? And then on the way back up, I managed to hit about the same place. You can see I'm starting to break a little bit, which is why I decided like, okay, this is gonna be my last lift. However, because we're gonna make this video, I was like, you know what, I should go for just one more. Go for one that I think maybe I won't get, 50-50, just so you can see, okay, what does a bail mechanic look like? What am I doing in order to hedge against sort of like catastrophic failure? So I load up 315, and this is a miss. And you know, it's not like I went into it like, oh, I know I'm gonna miss it, I'm just gonna go for it anyway. I was like, you know, there's a 50-50. Like, I've gotten this weight a ton of times before. If everything goes well, I might get this one. And so I go down, I come back up. It actually looks optimistic, but I just didn't really have the gas to make it happen.
So what was like your cue that you didn't have it? Like, could you have fought through that and maybe gotten it up and said you squatted 315? Would that have been a good thing? Was that something you would have? Yeah,
I could have got that, but I mean, here's the thing: is like positions intact, positions intact, positions intact, positions intact. You can see it start to break a little bit, and then I stall, and immediately I know I'm not a person that. Well, let's put it this way. I know I am a person that can sit there and hang on to it, but it's going to come at the sacrifice. It's going to break and break and break, and I finally get the inertia to kind of get through that sticking point, and then I go up. But at the end of the day, like, you know, there's no money on the line. There's no medals awarded. This is just how strong am I today, and I wasn't this strong, and that's really all there is to it.
So walking away with,
and I have an easy bail, so it's not that big of a deal.
Walking away with like maybe a small tweak or something like that for the sake of saying you back squatted 315, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a world record or anything like that. So it's kind of like, what's the point?
50% of tons of people's maxes,
as opposed to 305 for a solid rep you can be happy with, and you feel good walking away and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I feel good today. I don't suffer any setbacks. So also on the point of this video, I went for something I've never gone for today, just the sake of like, all right, I'm gonna establish some sort of baseline. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna load up 225 on the bar. It's a nice clean, you know, 2-plate number. And I was like, I'm gonna do max amount of reps at 225. And my threshold is gonna be, can I maintain my position? Can I maintain my speed? And even though, you know, I'm not really fatigued at this point, but I've definitely used a decent amount of juice, like getting those heavy ones up there. So can I hold myself together and put together a good string of reps?
How many did you get?
I got 15.
Okay.
So this is kind of the early ones. And so this is rep, let's say 4 or 5, and I'm trying to maintain my position throughout. So hopefully they're not changing that much as I get to, let's call this rep 8, 9, 10, something like that. The only thing you will notice is because when you do these types of drills, this is very fatiguing, is that you can see my breathing. Oh, I guess that was it. You can see my breathing changes dramatically. Like, I'm working hard for this. This is brutal. Like, everything's on fire, but I'm still trying to, you know, maintain my position pretty well. And that was the last one. It was a little bit slow, a little bit clunky. So I was like, all right, that's cool. I got my nice round 15 reps. I was feeling good to go.
So we'll start with testing on Wednesday, back squat, and we'll kind of go through our strength cycle from there, and have a dialogue with the coach and see kind of what you think you should go for. Should I go for a 5-rep max? Should I go for a 2-rep max? And see what the coach's input is on that. And if you're someone who's tested a whole bunch of times and you know that maybe you're not going to hit your 400-pound back squat that you've hit in the past because you've missed squatting or whatever it is, then maybe hit a PR in a different way and try and hit a new 12-rep max, which you maybe have never done before. So anything you do for 12 reps would be like a 12-rep max. So play with your testing a little bit. Have a dialogue with the coaches. Make sure you're safe when you bail. And always make sure that 100% or that new 1-rep max or 2-rep max, whatever it is, make sure it looks good. Make sure you can watch a video of it and you're happy with it.
Well, it was a decently long video, and I was watching Sean White do half pipe, you know, like gold medal stuff, and I was like, back squatting is kind of boring compared to... But for those that want to do this stuff, hopefully this is helpful to help you get the very most out of your squat session, feel good, and leave no worse off than when you came in. So thanks for watching.